Hello, this is Otaku Solutions. This video comes before the SkinLayer Studio course. We'll briefly explain why we built this tool, and what problems the industry is facing right now. Skinning in 3ds Max is badly outdated, and it doesn't match today's trends. I'll walk through why I think that, and go through the problems one by one. There are several problems. The first is that there's no lock. Let's look at an example. In 3ds Max, you'll often see a setup where weight is assigned to 3 bones like this. You can see how the weight has been applied like this. If you select all the vertices, you'll find skin weight table down below. You can see weight values filled in for each vertex. Let me give you an example that's easier to follow. The vertices look like this, and the weight is split like this. Now here's the mission. Can we keep this vertex weight, and move all the other weight? We need to move this weight as is cut it from here and add it somewhere else. Among the features 3ds Max ships with, sadly, there's nothing that can do that. Looking at the current UI, there's no way to move it at all. Let's take a look here. This is skin weight table, and it has S, M, N, R, and H. Let me explain each one. S is selection when you pick vertices, this shows up. M is modifier. Skin has this envelope, right? No matter how the envelope changes, vertices marked M are not affected. Right now every vertex is set to M, and N normalizes so the sum always stays 1. R is rigid instead of spreading across bones, it sticks 100% to a single bone. H is rigid handle. It locks the handle so bone motion doesn't squash it. But there's no way to lock the weight on the bones below. If I had to try something, there's one experiment we can run. We'd move weight from here to there, right to left. Turn normalize off, and it's really inconvenient, but if you add them up like this, set this to 0 and this to 0.9, you can move it. But you'd have to do that for everything. Turn normalize off and move it all by hand? You can't. Usually in Maya, each neighboring bone has a lock feature. You set lock, fill everything to 1, and the leftover weight moves over here. With lock, this would at least be possible. 0.3 deciseconds Max just doesn't have that lock feature. I started 3ds Max years ago and looked for this for years. Nothing. This is not provided in 3ds Max's base features at all. So from a rigger's point of view, this is really awkward. You often have no idea how to edit weight. Can't I just select all of this and dump it over here? You can, actually. But then the nicely even gradient weight below has to be reset to 0.1 and so on, way too much back and forth. If we could lock the lower part, we could pull it out cleanly. The problem is, we just can't. So animators or people new to rigging might think, is that really such a big deal? Let me show a real example. This is why the grunt work explodes. Here's one in 3ds Max skinning. Say we have a character like this. This is the front view, a good example for roughing in leg skinning. We add a bone that nicely corrects the hip. When you lift the leg, the hip shifts and keeps the volume. YouTube might flag this, so I'll stay in shade mode. While skinning here, I made a mistake on purpose. It happens pretty often. The hip weight itself looks clean, though. Look at the left thigh weight. I painted one on everything here. It should only hit the left side, but the right side is painted too. So I need to pull the left thigh weight and move it to the right. The left and right hip weights are already nicely mirrored. While keeping that, I have to move the left thigh weights over to the right thigh. If we had lock, we could keep this weight and freeze the hip weights. The hips are already nicely mirrored. Lock those, lock spine too, and dump the leftover onto the right. We can move it, sure, but there's no way to lock the hip weight. I've talked about this problem in 3ds Max for a long time, but game studios, even big companies, never saw how serious it is. But riggers and animators who've done a lot of rigging know how serious and inefficient this problem is. I'll tell you how people have handled this in production. Sadly, most just go back and tweak it by hand. They dump all the vertex weight, it breaks, then they reset weight and paint it all again. Some people use outside scripts, but that was never a real fix either. Once you see problems like this, it clicks, right? No lock, so how do you even move weight? This comes up a lot on character facial work. Paint the lips, lock the mouth corners, then pull weight off the cheeks. But without lock, there's no way to pull it off. There's no way to freeze the weight you already painted. In the end, everything gets lost, and destructive weight keeps getting applied. The second reason 3ds Max rigging is like thesis that games themselves have leveled up. In the old days, even a basic skinning tool like this was enough. You'd just set weight as thigh 1, knee 1, no twist weight, just give each a weight of 1 and you were done. That only worked around 2010, on games that showed up on these tiny LCD screens. Games were basically phone game size. That was the quality of games on a phone. Back then you could get by without twist skinning at all. I'm not saying you must have weight lock. If the bone setup isn't that complex, you can work. Simple setups aren't hard. Phone game quality wasn't that high then, and the screens were so small you barely noticed. Look at mobile games today, quality keeps climbing, almost AAA, even console level. At the top you've got Arknight's Anfield and Zenless Zone Zero. That's the quality we have to hit that level of 3D. We have to compete with mobile games like these, and mobile quality has gone way up. These days there are also cross-device games that need to run on both phones and PCs. This character is Mabel, one of mine. Compared to today's subculture characters, she's not that high-end. She might be average quality with just the basics, or even a bit below that. Even this character's bone setup is just main bones plus twist bones. It's not that complex. But game characters today keep getting far more complex than this even on mobile. This is absolutely not a complex character setup. Anyway, as I said, once we start skinning, we end up with a more refined skeleton. Quality goes up, and yes, the complexity goes up too. As complexity rose and bone setups got heavier, skinning got that much harder too. But the tools we use here are still the same. If you skin a bone setup like this, you have to split weight evenly in each region, arms and hands too. Spine is the same. It's everywhere, so to put it briefly, bone and mesh complexity went up with the games, but the skin tools we use are still the same. To skin a mesh with a setup this complex, we need a more systematic tool. On top of that, third, fourth, fifth skinning mirror doesn't work properly. There's skin wrap, but skin copy isn't really there, and skin export-import had all kinds of bugs. I could talk about these problems for 3 hours, but don't worry. At Otaku Solutions, if we name a problem, we bring a fix. We built a new tool. Its name is SkinLayer Studio. It's a plugin that runs properly in 3ds Max. We just implemented the viewport inside the tool. Even in 2026, the most reasonable, efficient skinning method I can think of is a layer structure. What I mean by layers is stacking them, like Photoshop. Pelvis here, then spine, then neck, then the knee, then foot, stacked layer by layer. Another analogy is oil painting. You keep laying paint until the picture is done. We needed a tool that can manage weight systematically at the layer stage. So at Otaku Solutions, that development is almost finished, and this is the solution we're giving you. This layer structure is really solid. Look at pelvis. Pelvis is painted, the mask covers everything, and the spine region sits up top. Spine starts from here, so weight is painted from here on up. That's the structure, and only inside the mask is weight built out like this. Neck is the same, and you can see the thighs are fully painted this way too. The problem I mentioned earlier is this. You paint weight inside the thigh, and it should only be shared in there. Inside that, twist 2, 3, and 4 also need to split cleanly. That's hard to set up with the default tools. But with this layer approach, we now have a tool that can manage that weight properly. The knees aren't mirrored well right now, but a simple mirroring feature is built in too. I started simply from the torso, but facial goes in, the upper body goes in, fingers go in. You just keep stacking it systematic ally and continue the work. If you only want to see active bones in the selected layer, that view is built in too. Exporting or importing skin data, and even weight copy, are already supported. I'll show you how in the next video. Building this tool has been going really smoothly. weight responds really smoothly. You can see weight handled cleanly like this. Where it undershoots, add smooth so it takes, and it moves well. Weight acts smoothly, updates in real time, and the mask applies cleanly too. You can see weight responding this fast and this smoothly. The thigh is a bit stiff in places, but you can smooth the whole thing and clean it up. Weight gets smoothed out like this, and wire looks natural and clean too. In wire mode, the color also changes with weight. So I hope you'll really put this tool to use, and as someone a bit further along in the industry. If you're moving into rigging or technical art, I recommend starting from a SkinLayer Studio base. For 3ds Max's default tools, just knowing what features exist is enough. I recommend building your base on this tool. Also, tools we shipped earlier like FastRef or Biped Plus need agreement with the teammates you're working with. But SkinLayer Studio resources stay on your side, so that should be fine. You just use this tool and raise your skinning quality. I built this tool for myself, so we'll keep raising the quality and we'll squash the bugs. The goal may sound a bit arrogant, but we'll work hard to make the best skinning tool there is. I don't want you stuck in this inefficient work anymore. I'm honestly so happy this problem is finally solved. I hope this tool frees you from skinning stress too. Thank you so much for choosing SkinLayer Studio and starting with us. I've been pointing at gloomy problems so far, but luckily I think we've found the solution. From here, I think it's good to keep expanding the work in this direction. After this video, we'll go into how you actually use it. Thanks for sticking with us. To give you a more elegant place to work, Otaku Solutions will always keep trying. We'll stay on the front line with the hard problems, and we'll solve them faster than anyone. And whatever we solve, we'll share all of it with you. Thanks for watching. This has been Otaku Solutions. Thank you.